Welcome to HFY Stories. Please subscribe to the channel. Your one click means the world to me. The rail was still hot enough to blister when Voss finally let go of it. Hours later in the medical bay. But in the moment itself, on the buckling deck, she wouldn't release it, wouldn't release the man across her shoulders, wouldn't release anything, even as the floor gave way toward the breach behind her. I want to tell you I caught her because I was fast. The truth is my suit's magnetic locks did the deciding. I didn't. That comes later. Let me back up. It started with a smell I should have trusted. Lieutenant Kara Voss came to my office 2 hours before the alarms, asking to run a suppression drill in Bay 7, and every chemical signal on her skin told me she was lying about why. I've read human scent for 3 cycles now the way my people read heat maps and her said fear-wearing determination's coat. I sent her to Bay 9 instead. She argued the equipment there was outdated. She was right. I let her have Bay 7. 2 hours later, the real alarms hit, the kind that stay calm while telling you the hull is opening. I ran, 6 limbs, no dignity, straight into smoke that tasted like burning insulation and something worse underneath. And there she was, 70 kilos of stubbornness, uniform smoldering in 3 places, hauling a cadet 3 times her mass toward the bulkhead. "Leave him," I said through my suit's speaker. "The bay's failing." She didn't look up. "Get the door." We got Nembilla through. Voss collapsed against the wall, chest working like an overloaded engine, and gasped that 2 more were still inside, Priya, Marcus, with the hull integrity dropping by the second. She looked at me with those forward-facing eyes humans have, too intent to be comfortable, and went back in before I could answer. I stood there 2 full seconds while every survival instinct I owned filed a formal objection. Then duty won, and I followed. We found Priya pinned under a collapsed rack, unconscious, barely 18 years by her species count. Voss's arms shook lifting it. I added 4 of my own, and together we freed her. Marcus was worse, caught near the blast point, out cold, built like something meant to survive impacts that would end lesser frames. Voss went to lift him alone. "Structural integrity, 22%, the ship warned. "We're leaving," I told her. She shoved Priya toward me without looking away from Marcus. "Take her. I'm not walking out without him." It wasn't a request, and there was nothing in her voice left over for me to argue with. I got Priya out. When I turned back, the smoke had gone solid, and Voss's outline was bent over Marcus's, dragging him backward 1 ruined step at a time. Her face streaked black and red, small sounds of effort escaping her that no translator needed to interpret. The deck lurched, not a shudder, a verdict. 8%. I grabbed Marcus's legs. Together we hauled him the last distance through air thick enough to chew. 3 meters from the bulkhead, the bay gave up entirely, and the atmosphere went out with a roar that swallowed every other sound. My locks caught the deck. Voss, with nothing to anchor her, started sliding backward into the breach, Marcus still locked in her grip. I caught her wrist. My servos screamed. We came through the closing door in a heap, and the silence after was almost louder than what it replaced. She lay on her back afterward, staring at the ceiling, and didn't let go of Marcus's sleeve until the medics pried her fingers loose one at a time. All 3 cadets lived, barely. Voss woke in the medical bay screaming names before she'd even opened her eyes fully, clawing at the restraints until I told her they'd made it. She went slack like something had finally been allowed to stop holding its shape. 3 days after, our captain reviewed my report and asked, flatly, why I'd left out that Voss disobeyed a direct evacuation order. I said the comms were bad. She said not to insult her. Then she recommended us both for commendation and told me, not unkindly, that people should know courage wasn't only a human trait. That answer didn't satisfy me. It sat wrong for weeks, actually, an itch I couldn't place until I found myself outside the rehabilitation center, watching Voss grit through therapy for shoulders that would never sit right again, and I finally asked her the question directly. "Why go back? The odds weren't with you." She wiped her face slowly, like even that hurt. "They were mine. My cadets. You could have died. You very nearly did." "Probably," she said. "Good thing I'm bad at math." Then quieter, the joke dropping out of her voice entirely. "You know what they actually teach us underneath the tactics and the technical drills? That command means being the last one through the door, that you don't send people somewhere you won't go yourself, that if I'd left them behind to save my own skin, I'd have survived as someone I couldn't stand living inside of. That's a longer sentence than dying is." I told her humans were exhausting. She said they got that a lot, and something about the way she said it, tired, unbothered, entirely certain, made me understand, finally, that I'd been asking the wrong question the whole time. Not why did she go back? How could a person like her have done anything else? Someone had recorded the whole rescue on suit cameras and sent it back to Earth, and humans, it turns out, do not keep their heroes quiet. Within months, Voss had a place in something called their Hero Archive, children studying her name in leadership courses across human space. They wanted to inscribe me too. I refused twice, telling the official over the transmission that I'd merely panicked into competence. She told me that was exactly what courage looked like, not the absence of fear, but moving through it anyway, stress logs and all. I agreed, on the condition they note my reluctance for the record. Apparently that made the story better. Humans like their heroes a little afraid. At Voss's promotion, months later, we shared a drink in the officer's lounge, hers amber and burning, mine something that wouldn't poison me. She asked how it felt being called brave. Deeply uncomfortable, I said. Same, she admitted, turning her glass. I didn't do anything special, I just did the thing in front of me. That's the part that makes it special, Captain. She reached over then and set something small on the table between us, a fused lump of rail grip, the metal that had welded itself to her glove in the fire, cut free by the medics and kept because, she said, she liked having proof it happened. I picked it up. Still faintly warm, or maybe that was just what I wanted to feel. I keep it now in my quarters, on the shelf across from my own melted suit gauntlet, the one that never quite closed right again after gripping her wrist through a collapsing door. Some evenings I take both pieces down and set them side by side, thinking about how strange it is that a species so breakable keeps walking toward the fire anyway. Tonight I do it again, turning the warm lump of metal over in my hands long after the corridor outside has gone quiet, and I find I'm not thinking about hero archives or commendations at all. I'm thinking about the 2 seconds I stood still before I followed her in, and how easily those 2 seconds could have become the whole story instead of just its opening line. I put my hand flat against both dead pieces of metal and feel, for a moment exactly like I did in that corridor. Too slow, too late, and glad every time that I went in anyway.